We were thinking about what to do. Some people in Brazil said, we need to organize a world conference, and they called it the World Social Forum. But it was only supposed to be for Brazil, the first year in 2001. But it grew, and people said, let's make it a World Social Forum. And they were expecting maybe 2,000 people. They got 20,000 people. The next year, they were expecting, 20,000 people. They got 40,000 people. What was attracting people to the World Social Forum in Brazil? Well, because the World Social Forum was created like a vacuum, a space that's a vacuum. Nobody controls that space. It's our space. So that vacuum is going to draw in all of the movements from all over, all kinds of movements, from youth movements, labor movements, campesino movements, environmental movements, children's rights movements, everything in the world coming into that open space and registering workshops and events. So we all organize our own forum by registering those sessions, and then we exchange connections and movements, and we get to know what's happening in Brazil, what's happening in Paraguay, what's happening in Uruguay, what's happening in Bolivia, what's happening in Venezuela. Pretty soon we become very familiar with it. But it did not happen by itself, and it did not happen overnight. At the same time that Brazil was beginning to hold the World Social Forum, Tomás was working with Southwest Network, and we were organizing the border bridge protest, where we were shutting down the international bridges between Mexico and the U.S., protesting that the products could cross freely, but not the people. A TV made over there, no, but a person was less than a TV or a Barbie doll or whatever that was produced over there. So is that what we've come to? So we said no. So that's what we started the protest. We did it for 5 years. So they were doing the World Social Forum, and we didn't really know what was happening over there. So in 2003, we decided to form a group dedicated so that we could find the way to take people affected by NAFTA and by neoliberal design, this world order, to take them to participate in Brazil. So we formed the Grassroots Global Justice Alliance, and the first year that we went was 2003. And we learned it quick, and it was great to see people from all over the world, all kinds of languages. So that empowered us, and we came back, and we said, what do we do here? Between 2004 or 3 when we came back, we said, it's not about just going to these world conferences, it's really about what are we going to do here. So we started the process in 2004 to organize the first U.S. Social Forum in Atlanta. But that's when Katrina and Rita, the hurricanes, hit in the Gulf Coast. So we moved it from 2006 to 2007. So for a social forum to happen in the U.S., that was big, because nobody in the world out there believed that in the U.S. there was a movement like this, like SWAP, like SU, like all these grassroots groups that we knew existed, but they didn't. So they did not think that it was possible for us to have a U.S. Social Forum and to have a successful one. We had over 20,000 people and about 12,000 people registered as delegates at Atlanta in 2007. Not only about the People's Freedom Caravan that Marjorie was talking about that we did, and that was one of the great things of the forum that we added, because none of the other forums in the world had organized Freedom Caravan. We were the first one, and we took it from the Freedom Summer that had happened 40 years ago in Mississippi, when the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee began to organize around the racism in the South. Not only did we do that, but we had a People's Movement Assembly. Now, the Social Forum, it's an open space, but it cannot make decisions. It cannot take sides or positions. Because if you start taking sides, then what political movement is going to dominate? Or what labor union? Or what youth group? somebody's gonna dominate that open space, and therefore it's not gonna be a converging space where we all come to as equals. But if we can't make decisions there and take positions, then where do we do it? So people came up at the forum, let's have a social movements assembly, an assembly of organizations that want to come together to make some decisions, to make some plans about action, to change the world. If we want another world possible, which is the slogan of the World Social Forum, another U.S. is necessary. Because if the U.S. continues to do what it does, it's gonna not let nobody else do what they want, because they'll start wars with them to stop.